to hear the budget presentations of the Office of the President and the Presidential Management Staff for PMS and OP. Good morning, Your Honors. We'd like to recognize our colleagues who are physically present. Senator Francis Tolentino, who's a Vice Chair of this committee. Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
And virtually present are the Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, and Senator Bongo, who is also a Vice Chair of this committee. Good morning, Minority Leader. Can you hear us? Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And of course, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of no less than the Executive Secretary, our former Chief Magistrate of the Supreme Court, former CJ, now ES, Sir Lucas Bersamin. Good morning, sir. And of course, our Secretary of the PMS, our former colleague and friend from the lower house, Secretary Naida Angping. Good morning, ma'am. And their teams, will isa-isahin po natin. Attorney Hubert Guevara is present virtually, Senior Deputy Executive Secretary. Our DESFA, John Reshi Gigayon. Our DESIA, Deputy Executive Secretary for Internal Audit, Rico Judge Echeverry, formerly of the DILG. Right, sir? Attorney Rowena Sanchez, OIC DESLA for Legal Affairs. Morning, ma'am. Deputy Executive Secretary for General Administration or DESGA, Attorney Laura Jean Alamin. Morning po. Attorney Margarita Yu is the Assistant Executive Secretary. And of course, the team of Secretary Naida is also here. We'd like to acknowledge Undersecretary Rodolfo John Robert Palatao, Undersecretary Hani Rose Parcado, Undersecretary Crisostomo Beltran, Assistant Secretary Clemencia Kabugayan, Assistant Secretary Warren Miklat, Assistant Secretary Jericho Asedera, and we also have with us online COA representatives, State Auditor Trabok, and State Auditor Potente. Again, did I miss anyone, Comsec? Paki-dagdag na lang kung may nakaligtaan ho tayo.
For our online representative from the Department of Budget and Management, we have Maria Grace de los Santos, Director. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comsec. So, if we'll turn it over, before we turn it over to the OP for any presentation, we'll ask our colleagues if anyone wishes to make any introductory remarks. Senator Tolentino.
No introductory statement, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Minority Leader, any introductory remarks? We'll go to the presentation. Thank you, sir. Good morning. Senator Go, I suppose not. Sir, Executive Secretary Bersamin will give you the floor for any presentation you may wish to have. And after that, kay Secretary Angping po.
Maraming salamat po. The Honorable Chairman, the Honorable Minority Leader, and the Honorable members of this committee. Good morning to each and everyone. I am honored to be here today to present the proposed budget of the Office of the President proper for fiscal year 2023. Aside from our being mandated by the laws, our presence here reflects the President's entire commitment to the strengthening of the link between the Congress and the Presidency, as well as to the fostering of harmonious relationship between our two branches of the government, all for a better Philippines. The proposed OP proper budget of 8,969,000,000 net of the retirement and life insurance premium and pension components will support programs and projects that will enable the President to deliver on his constitutional mandate as the head of state, the head of the government, the chief executive, and the commander-in-chief in order to meet all the challenges in this post-pandemic period. The OP budget proposes an amount that represents only 1/6 of 1% of the total national budget for 2023. It is consistent with the uniform and standard parameters set for all government agencies. As the details of our proposal will show, there is a modest increase, whose rate is well within the norm for the OP proper, established in previous fiscal years. We seize this budget presentation as our opportunity to let the August Senate appreciate the governance direction of the Office of the President proper, and thereby enable our two branches to identify possible convergence points for the needed congressional support for the common objective of national development. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary. How about the PMS, Secretary Naida? Would you like to make any presentation, ma'am? With the indulgence of our colleagues, we'll just take up the two agencies together because that's been the practice, Your Honors. Thank you, Minority Leader. Yes, sir. They work together, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
Chairman.
for understanding.
Good morning.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning to my dear friends, Senator Sani Angara, Senator Francis Tolentino, and of course, Senator Coco Pimentel. Hello. Today, my PS family will give you a short presentation on our proposed budget for the fiscal year of 2023. As a background, the PMS is a primary government agency directly responsible for providing staff support to the President in the overall management of the development process. The budget was primarily crafted to provide efficient and effective staff support to our very hardworking President. The 2023 budget aims to fund initiatives to not only enable us to fulfill our duties for the President, but to also introduce improvements in the delivery of our major final outputs. These are the provision of decision inputs to the President, monitoring, evaluation, and facilitation work on presidential priorities and management of presidential engagements. To provide further details on the proposed budget, I have with me Assistant Secretary Warren McClatt if needed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead, Asik, Warren. Thank you.
Good morning po, Senators. Good morning, everyone. We'll be presenting the details of the Presidential Management Staff or PMS budget proposal for fiscal year 2023. Our presentation will cover the context of the proposal, the proposed budget, and the requested action from the Senate. Shown on the screen is the PMS mandate, which is PMS is the primary government agency directly responsible to the Office of the President for providing staff assistance in the presidential exercise of overall management of the development process. The PMS vision mission are as follows. Vision, a pillar of excellence and a resilient learning institution empowered by highly reliable public servants dedicated to serving the presidency towards the betterment of the Filipino people. Mission, to assist the presidency in uplifting the lives of all Filipinos through the facilitation of presidential priorities in accordance with the highest standards of complete staff work or CSW and service continuity. The fiscal year 2023 budget also considered our organizational performance indicator framework with particular focus on the three major final outputs or MFOs or organizational outcome. Number one, presidential briefers made responsive, holistic, and value-adding for presidential decision-making. Number two, presidential priorities and directives monitored, evaluation, and facilitated until their completion. And number three, presidential engagement managed to ensure policies and priorities are supported, and Secretariat support provided to the presidency under the new normal. Through the years, the OPPMS has continued to produce quality outputs in support of the presidency. Shown on the screen are the highlights of the agency's accomplishments from July 2016 to August 2022. As an update, from July to October 11, 2022, under the event briefer accomplishments, there are about 638. And for MFO2, requests from the general public and presidential directives, there are about 2,966 requests facilitated, and 315 presidential directives monitored and facilitated. And for engagement by the President in a presidential appointments process and cabinet high-level meetings provided, there are about 188, 1,629, and 56 respectively. Based on the considerations, the PMS came up with the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023. The PMS budget for 2023, based on the 2023 National Expenditure Program, is at 863.694 million pesos. This is 18.02% higher than the PMS budget of 731.838 million pesos in 2022 as shown in the next slide. On the slide is the comparison of the fiscal year 2023 NEP with that of our 2021 and 2022 budget as contained in the General Appropriations Act. In terms of breakdown, PMS 2023 proposed budget is broken down as follows. 269.715 million pesos is allocated for personnel services. This excluded the automatic appropriations of 19.371 million pesos for retirement and life insurance. Note that this data is mainly based on the filled positions as of end 2021. 461.749 million pesos is allocated for MOE, while 132.230 million is provided for capital outlay. Note that compared with our 2022 budget, all items of the proposed budget increased. We shall discuss the major drivers of the growth in the next slide. For the personnel services, the data is mainly based on the filled positions as of end 2021 and considering the implementation of the fourth and last tranche of the fifth salary standardization law. For MOE, the increase is mainly due to the anticipated increase in requirements to support the presidency and the continued need to provide interventions to promote safety and wellness of the personnel. For capital outlay, the increase was due to the inclusion of various critical information and communication technology or ICT equipment to continuously develop and improve the ICT resources towards establishing a resilient digital workplace and transportation equipment to provide a safe and more resilient, reliable, and versatile fleet for the PMS personnel. During these budget deliberations, we shall request the approval of the PMS budget for 2023, emphasizing the following points. Continuous provision of responsive service delivery for the presidency with due consideration of the following. Ensuring service excellence and responsiveness to adjust to the evolving requirements of the new presidency and strengthening of the agency's service continuity and resiliency amidst uncertainties. Lastly, we should note that PMS has 5 consecutive years of unmodified COA audit opinion from fiscal year 2017 to 2021. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
yes, with
Deputy
your
Secretary.
leave, may I ask our technical assistant, Mr. Alan Harlos, to make a presentation in our behalf?
Yes, sir. Yes,
with the
Your Honor.
Office of the President.
Apo, we'll acknowledge Mr. Harlos. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. Let me walk through the proposed budget for 2023 under the Office of the President proper. The proposed budget for the fiscal year 2023, net of our RLIF, or the Retirement Life Insurance Premium. Under allotment class, personal services, we have a proposed budget of 1.5 billion pesos. For the MOE, we have a proposed budget of 6.87 billion pesos. And for the capital outlay of 590 million, giving us a total proposed value of 8,969,000,000 and 5,000 pesos. For the comparative budgets between the year 2021 and 2022 approved GAA versus our proposed 2023 budget. For 2021, approved GAA, we have 8.18 billion pesos, almost the same as the year 2022 with 8.18 billion pesos. For our proposed 2023, we have allotted 16.74% for our personal services out of a total budget, proposed budget with the amount of 1.5 billion pesos. For the MOE, we have allotted 76.67% from the total proposed budget, equivalent to the amount of 6.87 billion pesos. For the capital outlay, we have allotted 6.59% of our total proposed budget, equivalent to the amount of 590 million pesos, giving us a total of 8,969,005,000 pesos. For our comparative budget based on our program's expenditure classification, under our general administration and support services, we have 21.49% from the total proposed of general administration budget, equivalent to the amount of 1.92 billion pesos. For our operations, we have allotted 78.51%, equivalent to 7,041,000,000 pesos. Under our operations are the President programs and activities, which are the Presidential Oversight Program, which we have allocated 60.64% from the total operations budget, amounting to 5.43 billion pesos. Also with the Advisory Program with 1.61%, with the Legal and Legislative Services Program at 2%, and the Executive Staff Services Program with 14.23%. On top of this is the automatic appropriation, RLIP, amounting to 62,237,000, and pension of 480,000, giving us a grand total of 9,031,722,000. For our variances between the year 2022 and the proposed 2023, our 2022 GAA, 8.18 billion versus our proposed of 8,969,005,000, giving us an increase of 9.62% from the previous year, equivalent to a variance amount of 786,972,000. Based on allotment class, our personal services has an increase of 34.17% from the previous year, with the total variance amount of 382,478,000. For our MOE, we have 5.99% increase, equivalent to a variance amount of 388,666,000. For our capital outlay, we have 2.75% slight increase, with a variance amount of 15,828,000, giving us a total increase of 9.62% from the previous year, with an equivalent amount of 786,972,000. So the reasons for the variances between the year 22 and 2023. For our personal services, with a variance amount of 382,478,000, this is attributed to the following factors. Number one, implementation of the mandated increase in PhilHealth contribution. Two, increase in salaries pursuant to the fourth tranche of the salary standardization law. And filling up of vacant permanent positions and contractual positions with approved staffing pattern. And filling up of vacant positions under the which is highly confidential in nature, as mandated and authorized by EO 292. For our MOOE, we have these are attributed to the following factors: increase in travel expenses, both local and foreign, due to the lifting of travel restrictions and the resumption of state visits, and planned training expenses that were not realized due to COVID restrictions on the previous years. For our capital outlay, the factors are construction of a 4-story parking building consistent with our National Land Use Act, repairs and maintenance of Kalayaan Hall, repair and retrofitting of the new executive building, and digitization and enhancement of OP-ICT services, program schedule of replacement of all machineries and equipment, and continued improvement and maintenance of our Presidential Complaint Center, or the 888 multi-telco services. So that's all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is that all for the part of the OP and the PMS? If it's
Yes,
so,
Your Honor, on the
Yes.
part of the OP proper.
Yes, Your Honor.
thank you very much, ES Persamin and Secretary Naidang Ping. We'll now turn it over to our colleagues. Minority Leader, you were the first to register, so I'll give you the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Let me start with the PMS, sir. Well, we have a total increase of 131 million, more or less. Tama po ba yan? Tama yan, ASEC? Miklat ba?
Yes po. Yes po.
130
Yes, sir.
level. Okay, because the secretary describes the president as very, ano sabi mo? Very hardworking. Pero let's refrain from describing presidents as very hardworking kasi kawawa naman yung mga previous. Baka naman ang implication natin kasi ang assumption dan, all of them are very hardworking. They sought the position Di ba, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Senator, I agree. I'm sorry. All of them are.
All of them,
us
all
are.
of them were
And all
very
of us are.
hardworking.
Thank you.
So, well, anyway, you gave us your plans naman. Okay, so you will purchase vehicles. Is this the practice talaga at the start of a new presidential term? We buy vehicles na hopefully it will last for the entire presidential term. It's good for 6 years na yung mga vehicles na bibili natin.
Yes po, sir. Opo.
Tama yan.
Yes, sir.
That's really the practice.
Yes po, sir.
Oh, kasi ang assumption ko, the vehicles you're now using must be at least 6 years old.
Not necessarily, sir. It's based on the refleeting program of the vehicles provided, sir, under the 2023 NEP are based on the approved refleeting program by the DBM po. So for 2023, PMS is provided with 8 service vehicles po.
Okay lang yan kasi syempre dapat mobile din kayo. Meron lang po kasi, okay, ito po ma'am, para maintindihan ko po yung RTVM, di ba? So the RTVM has its own budget. Not reflected in your,
Not reflected in the PMS.
in the bottom line amount which I mentioned.
Not reflected, yes. That's correct.
But
Mr. Senator.
from now on, for when was RTVM transferred under the supervision of the PMS?
Only this year po.
Only this year.
This year.
This term or this
This
term?
term.
This term.
This term. Sige, so
Chair, Mr. Chair, if I may,
how will
if I
that
may
work, Mr.
interject.
Chairman?
I think
Yes.
there was an executive order number 2 issued requiring the transfer of RTVM as well as other offices to PIA, if I'm not mistaken. There's a tenor of
Yes, that's
EO.
confirmed. Yes.
Yung po yun, Minority Leader.
It was under the,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there is an EO number 2, which is now, that's additional responsibility of PMS. Tama?
yes,
Oo,
unfortunately.
nalipat sa kanila pala.
Yung supervision lang, sir.
The supervision, okay, the supervision of the RTBM. And we do not need any budgetary adjustment just because of this new responsibility.
Ikaw na.
Asek,
RTVM original proposed budget is 113.281 million, but the NEP budget provided is 66.623 million. So there's a need for restoration of, sir, 46.558 million, sir.
yes, that is to RTBM's budget.
Yes,
But
boss.
kayo na, no, you don't need any budgetary adjustment because of the new responsibility of supervising RTBM.
Ikaw na.
Sir, we will need po additional budget due to the transfer of that for additional operating requirements po, sir.
So hindi naman siguro, but I don't think the additional responsibility will disrupt your plans, no? Kasi
Not
not necessarily. Okay, sige. Ma'am, ito lang po yung sa COA audit of 2021. Meron din pala kayong mga transfers to PSDBM. Ayusin ninyo yan. Ano ba yung... It's syempre before the secretary's time, but I don't know sino ba yung may mga institutional memories diyan. ASEC Kabugayan, yes.
Sir, yes po. Actually, we stopped already transferring, except for the common supplies po. Yun na lang po yung nilagay namin sa PSDBM.
Ay, boss, ito ka.
We'd like to acknowledge the presence of one of our colleagues, idolo po, especially ng kababaihan, si Senator Robin Hood Padilla. Good morning, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject
Yes,
before
If it's on the related point, go ahead, sir.
we leave the topic of RTVM. Yesterday, during the budget hearing of the OPS, I think I was the one who raised I can still recall that during the lockdown days, I supported RTVM. I initiated the 3 or 4 cameras. So what I gathered was that it was released to PT4 and then transferred to RTVM, and then apparently the budget has yet to be utilized, but it will expire before the end of this year. So perhaps the good secretary can note that and have that procured. Sayang, mga brand new cameras, magagamit niyo po
Opo, sir.
yan.
Yes, I will take note of that, sir, and find out, and we'll do
It's
something. about it.
28.717 million.
28,
28.717 million
ang laki.
for the purchase of brand new
Brand new
cameras
funds.
like that. Tagal ko nang hinahanap yun, palipat-lipat na ako. Sa inyo po papunta yan, magagamit niyo po yan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader.
Para
Let you know
para nga
about
maklaro, Secretary, what will be your relationship now with the RTBM because of the EO number 2?
They will be under our supervision. They're up to now, they really are under our supervision. So kung anong inaano nila, they ask our permission first, and we give their. We do their work together, actually, more or less.
Okay, so if there's a question as to the cameras, pwede nga through you
Sa akin na nga.
2021 pala, ma'am. I'm sorry. 2021 budget.
2021 budget.
Sige,
Okay, sir, ipapaano ko? I'll procure it right away. 'Cause
Let's
we
go
need
back
it.
to
We need
this.
it really, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Let's go back to this COA audit. So you have stopped the practice, pero the point is, I think you have to. I think the amounts have to be reverted to the National Treasury yata because
Yes, sir.
wala na effectivity nung
Yes,
funds.
sir.
So
Yes po.
whose responsibility is that? Is that the PMS's responsibility na kayo yung origin ng funds, or is it now?
It's with the DBMPS na po.
PSDBM
Yes
na.
po. And then they inform us, Your Honor, that it was the money is supposed to be transferred to the Treasury. So we're just asking for a report from DBMPS if the money has been transferred to the Treasury.
Push na lang. Push. Kasi lalabas sa COA ninyo eh. Tama po ba yun? It appears in your COA audit report, Secretary?
Yes, it does. So
Oh, okay.
as you suggested, I'll push personally.
Kasi-
I'll push for it.
Ano lang yata yan, di ba? Unofficial declaration na
It's an official declaration lang.
zero na because reverted na.
I'll do that, Mr. Secretary.
And then meron pa rin kayong dormant receivable accounts from NEDA, Ministry of Human Settlements, Bagong Kabuhayan at Kaunlaran. 165 million din po ito, and it keeps on appearing sa inyong COA report. What shall we do here, Secretary? Para pagkatapos ng term ni Secretary Naida, malinis.
To inform po, ma'am, na write-off na po, nag-approve na po yung COA to write it off. Bali po bago matapos yung last administration, we wrote the Commission on Audit to write off those amounts. Thank you, sir.
I know you wrote, pero sabi nyo, awaiting a favorable response pa. So, kumilos na. Ayun, okay. So, meron talagang time lag, Mr. Chairman, between the writing of briefers and realities on the ground. At least,
And I believe in that.
that's why it's important to
Yes.
have this question and answer.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Question. So, very good. So, next COA report, next year's, -1 na ha, kay Secretary Angping. Okay na.
Thank
At least.
you. Thank you.
And then there's another one, yung approved budget for the contracts daw. Although, kunyari, there is an item of expenditure, there's an ABC, and then the contract price is 50% of the ano. Although nakatipid nga actually tayo, and I give credit to the office, pinupuna pala yung mga ganyan because it's in the first place, tatanungin ko, why did you set the agency, so are we improving in our estimates now? Because it adds to the bottom line of it adds to your bottom line of 883 million. So ano, are we improving our systems?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually po, dapat we have market surveys. I think for that one po kasi, nung pandemic, konti lang po yung nag-respond sa market survey. Kaya ganun po yung estimates. But
Pandemic.
we have corrected na po the market surveys. We get 3 market surveys to ensure that the cost, the ABC or the cost of the contract would be close to yung ano talaga yung sa market price po. So inayos na rin po namin yung internal rules po namin. Thank you, sir.
And hopefully leading to a lower sana, not forcing the bids higher, but accommodating reality and making the ABC lower. Sana gano'n ha, para alam mo naman pasensya na ES, may Ilocano blood din po tayo kasi ang lola ko public school teacher na, taga Batak pa, Ilocos Norte. Ang nanay ng tatay ko, sa Cagayan, pumunta lang ng Cagayan de Oro.
Hindi bali, Senator. Ako din ay isang waray na Lucana.
Okay. And then last but not the least, ito Secretary, siguro sa iyo na ito, there's another COA observation of cash advances not liquidated for more than a year. So, di ba may mga rules tayo na and then they were released additional cash advances. Di ba basic yung bawal yun. If you have an unliquidated cash advance, huwag ka muna releasean din ng additional cash advance.
Oo. Pero,
Yes, ano explanation dito, Asek?
Sir, we will update our actions taken, but normally in the COA rules, there will be no provision of additional cash advances if the previous cash advances has not been settled or liquidated. But we'll ensure that these disbursing officers will fully liquidate as a matter of COA policy and for clean report of the financial records, sir.
Yun na nga, para malinis ang co-audit ng ano. Because you mentioned also that you are you were given some rating ng COA sa inyo?
Unmodified COA audit opinion, sir. So for 5 consecutive years, PMS has an audit opinion, unmodified, sir.
Excited ko naman ng tatlo.
Yes,
Okay. So, for 5 consecutive years, you have been given anong description?
Unmodified.
Is that the highest ever
Yes.
accolade or distinction that an agency aspires for?
Yes po, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you po, sir.
So, keep up the good work. Alagaan
Ibig sabihin ng unmodified with the permission. Unmodified. Anong ibig sabihin nun?
Unmodified COA audit opinion means that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, and in essence, the financial records are clean report po, sir.
Dinoktor yung ano?
No,
yung
sir.
papeles. In other words.
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir.
Ayos.
Thank you.
At tapos may observations lang para to guide you,
Yes po, sir.
improve your services and your accounting records. Ganun.
Yes po. Yes
So,
po.
alagaan natin, Secretary. Kasi nag-aalala na rin ako kay ma'am. Nakikita ko sa footages, medyo pagod na. So, alagaan pa natin si Secretary Naida. Gusto ko pagkatapos ng kanyang term or tenure man sa PMS, maintained yan. At saka yung audit observations, kung pwede, zero na, wala na. Oh.
We'll do that po, sir. And we will maintain the unmodified.
If it's unmodified, and then there are no audit observations, ano yun? Ano tawag mo doon? That is probably
When
the
it's
highest ever.
unmodified COA audit opinion, meaning a certain percentage of the expenditure is a threshold limit. PMS has met that, and only that's on the quantitative aspect. On qualitative aspect, the COA sets the trust and confidence on the top management of the PMS, sir.
Oh, ano? Did you get that? Ah, you got that? You
Yes
got
po,
that?
yes po. As a matter of fact, I think PMS is an awardee in the Association of Government Accountants of the Philippines
So keep
for
up the good work
surveillance.
na lang ha. So, andito lang naman kami, taga Masid, taga Bantay, taga Puna. Taga Puna, para on your toes tayong lahat.
Yes
Okay,
po.
ganun lang naman ang gagawin.
Thank you po, sir.
Now, let me move on now to, thank you for to the PMS, to the OP.
Thank you.
Mr.
Before you go,
Chairman.
before I go, thank you very much for your guidance, and please keep watching over me and the PMS. I appreciate that.
And praying too.
And pray. The most important thing
Yes,
is prayers. Thank you.
Alam niyo po, si Minority Leader, hindi ganyan ang puna sa lahat ng ahensya. Opo. I just want to place that on the record, Your Honor.
Pero hindi pa rin mapigilan, may puna pa rin. Sana wala na. Well, ito po sa OP, the amount that the budget amount that we're quoting is the total new appropriations 8.9 billion, sir. Yes. Ang napansin ko lang, 4.5 of this will be confidential and intelligence funds. That's almost 50% or close to 50%. Why did we maintain the level of the former administration's confidential and intelligence? Hindi, tama ba yung sinabi ko? Yeah, 4.5. Tama yung sinabi ko, 4.5. Why did we maintain that, sir? Pwede naman tayo as, because the President has a medium-term fiscal framework. Ang dami mga konseptong magaganda ron. Pinag-usapan namin ni Chairman niya sa floor ng Senado. Fiscal consolidation. Ito, I'm just from memory, quoting. Meron pa doon mga growth-inducing expenditure. Mga ganun ba? So, if we maintain a 4.5 billion confidential and intelligence fund in a single office, are we being consistent with that office's same statement of a medium-term fiscal framework? Yes.
Mr. Senator, thank you for that question. May I ask, you want to do that? Or si SDS? May I ask our Senior Deputy Executive Secretary, who is with us online, to give a response?
Yeah, we'll acknowledge Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Guevara. Morning, sir.
Good morning, sirs. Good morning, Senator. Senator Coco, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. No? Pasensya na po, I would have wanted to attend the Senate hearing face-to-face, but because of the positive result I received last night from COVID, I have no choice but to stay here at home. No? But still joining the meeting. No? To address po that question, Mr. Senator Pimentel, no? While I agree that the President has these plans in place, no? It should not also detract us from the fact that the confidential intelligence are much needed in pursuit of these plans as well. That's why we maintained the 4.5 billion confidential intelligence fund expenses as part of the budget of the President, Mr. Senator.
Well, anyway, I'm just I'm just trying to measure the actions reflected in how the budget was prepared by the executive branch against the words, ideas as explained in the medium-term fiscal framework. Kasi fiscal nga yun, fiscal framework, 'di ba? Ito yung how we raise revenues and how we spend the money of the government. So, well, I just make an appeal to the Office of the President and the executive branch to review your own medium-term fiscal framework. Then you test the budget that the executive branch prepared against the concepts in the medium-term fiscal framework. So, and sayang kasi it would have been a good gesture, symbolic act on the part of the president if we had lowered the confidential or intelligence fund allocated for his office. And I think this has happened before. This has happened before that a president submitted a lower confidential fund amount for his or her office, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you want to say something, sir?
Yes, I would like to add to the statement of the Senior Deputy Executive Secretary. We have adopted a whole-of-nation approach in respect of our security arrangements as well as our concern for internal as well as international security. And this whole-of-nation approach requires us to have some flexibility. Now, we have not increased too much what the last administration had as far as this CIF is concerned. We just replicated it. And the reason there is probably that in a post-pandemic world, we would need a higher response, or we would need to be more responsive to the requirements of international and domestic security. We are not yet into that time where we can actually view it in the way that most sectors of our society view it, but it is not a simple view that we have about this. We want to be ready whenever there will be these exigencies that will arise. So, maintain na lang po namin yung amount of CIF that was already in effect under the former administration.
Thank you. Yes, na-notice ko nga po yun eh. Actually, ang main increases natin or ang biggest increase natin, traveling expenses, which has been explained, back to a more normal pre-COVID presidency or activities, so more state visits or visits to other countries. Okay lang pag-usapan natin ni yung visit to another country? Okay ka lang doon?
By all means po.
Sige po.
As far as we will...
yung last visit sa Singapore, is that personal or official? Pag personal, wala na akong tanong.
Yes. No, it was mixed, if you may put it that way, because the president was actually invited by the Prime Minister of Singapore to join him in that revival of that F1 racing in Singapore. And the president most likely saw an opportunity for him to expand on the goodwill that he generated when he made the official state visit. But of course, we could not announce that beforehand for security reasons. It is obvious. And the visit then was partly official, partly personal. But when I was asked about this in a press conference that was informally initiated by me, at the time when the press secretary was not yet appointed, or there was no press secretary, I had to say to them in answer to a question that looking at or distinguishing the sources of funding for that trip between the personal and the official might be very difficult, so I called it irrelevant. Kasi po, meron tayong obligasyon na kung saan pupunta yung presidente, kasama man yung pamilya niya o hindi, hindi naman niya iniiwan yung pagka-presidente niya eh. So, obligado pa rin yung gobyerno na alagaan siya, i-secure siya. At that was my point when I made that statement. I do not know, it's impossible to say which part of it is personal, which part of it is official, but actually, hindi po personal yun eh, only. No? Dapat po malinaw sa ating...
With your permission, Minority Leader, I saw pictures of him meeting with Prime Minister Lee and also some of the cabinet ministers. Is that correct?
Yes, also from other countries that
Right.
may have interest in Philippine governance and
Right.
Philippine business.
And I understand he also met a lot of CEOs during that visit. Is that right? Yeah.
All of them were relevant friends of
Yeah,
the
because
country. And
I think I forget who, but someone made a statement. It was a very big networking event in effect, because these were all high level or high powered individuals who were attending the event. Is that correct?
is absolutely correct.
Thank you, Executive Secretary.
Basta, Mr. Chairman, from the answer given to us, or from the inputs of the Executive Secretary, kita natin na yung the root of it all is the invitation from the Prime Minister of Singapore to Mr. Bongbong Marcos as President of the Republic of the Philippines. So, therefore, that was an official trip. Then bahala na, COA na po mag-audit naman yan sa expenses na charged to the budget of the Office of the President. Okay, so that was an official trip. Yung not being announced for security reasons, we understand that. Kailangan ng ganon. Pero ito lang, sabihin ko lang sa inyo, Mr. ES, kasi siyempre tinitext tayo ng media eh. Ano daw masasabi ko sa trip as the minority leader sa trip sa Singapore? Sabi ko, bakit nasa Singapore ba? Hindi ko rin alam eh. So, kasi nga because of the parang lumalabas that the executive branch tried to keep it secret. But secret before siguro the trip, just to make it unpredictable. But of course, after the trip, there would be an announcement and a reporting as to what was achieved by the trip. Ganun siguro yun, because it was an official engagement. Looks like it was an official engagement. Yes.
I wanted to add that just to explain po, ang context po ng pagdadalaw niya doon had to be kept secret because it was not a state visit. If it were a state visit, I am sure security precautions would be higher. But when it is a semi-official visit like this, upon the invitation of a friendly ally or of an ally, mas maganda nga po yung ganun kuminsan eh. Lower ang security risks until you are there. And that particular Formula 1 race, I am made to understand, is a race that is being held for the first time in at least 2 years. And it was a very rare race because it was held at night time. Many other high-positioned people from other countries were there also, and they were not there on state visit or that's just the point that I am making.
Yes, sir. I completely understand. Di naman kailangan lahat ng kilos ng presidente abroad must be state visits. Actually, state visits are at the expense of the host country. But official visits is at our expense. Yun lang naman po yung, at least, basta, from the answer given to my question, I have an opinion as to the nature of that visit. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge, with your permission, Minority Leader, the former chair of the committee, our Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Lauren Legarda. Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you. Welcome to the OP family, our Executive Secretary, our Head of PMS, and Honey Rose. Where is she? She should be in the maraming
Staff.
Yes, Honey Rose,
Honey
just
Rose.
like
You say Honey
Nina came from the Senate. Okay, we welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senate President Pro Temp. And of course, I received a text, Your Honors, from Majority Leader Villanueva, expressing support for the budget of the OP and the PMS, and he sends his highest regards and esteem to ES and SECNIDA. Just for the record. Go ahead, Minority Leader.
Just a few more questions. Sige, I give way to our more senior...
Is it on a related point, ma'am?
I thought it was a Dole hearing. I saw...
Si Asek Miklat, yeah.
What will happen to our tupad? Tupad is so successful. Oh.
May magtutupad doon. Yes. Maybe that's why he's recruited by the PMS. So.
Kasi sabi ni Senator Coco, kailangan ng lagaan ko yung PMS. Kailangan ko magaling ang aking finance.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Minority.
Yes, just a few more questions. Ano, madali na lang po ito. Yung just before we leave the matter of confidential and intelligence expenses, Mr. ES, meron din kasing nagsasabi sa akin, ano, kailangan ko panlaliman din yung understanding ko sa intelligence kasi, that the office of the president is not supposed to be or is not a generator of intelligence. It is a user, consumer of intelligence. So the intelligence funds are better given to agencies which generate intelligence reports. So that is the opinion, and I see the point of that opinion, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just making it of record na meron din ganun debate as to
Sir.
whether or not an agency should be entitled to be given intelligence funds.
Yes, sir. But I think the counterpoint to that is that intelligence or official government agencies are not the only source of intelligence. So some agencies may see fit to purchase intelligence from other sources. I think that's the counterpoint to that. Yes, yes, sir.
That's the counter reasoning. But at any rate, I will still continue to deepen my understanding as to intelligence funds, the use of intelligence funds. I make the same I'll just reiterate my earlier appeal, no? To be conscious of the medium-term fiscal framework of this administration. Ngayon ES and Senior Deputy ES Hubert Guevara, I noticed that yung parang yung CO nila, yung budget po natin ay just increased by what percent, ES? Ano ba?
We may I ask
6% lang, 6%? Saan yung CO niya?
9.62% variance between this and the last.
Gusto ko makita yung sa CO, yung paghati mo sa CO. Bakit nawala rito?
You're repairing your buildings, ano? Medyo maluma
Yeah,
yung
yeah.
building mo ninyo.
We are right now building consistent with existing laws. The variance, Mr. Senator, is
Yes, yes.
9.62%.
Layan Hall ho is the main hall. That's the one we always meet in, ho.
The main palace,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's heavily used. I think every day that's in use, no?
Okay. Yun, isang observation ko lang, sir, is yung ating capital outlay. Parang it behaves within a band, within a range every year. Why is that? Because the CO capital outlay level for a certain calendar year or fiscal year should be more or less independent of the amount of the previous years, di ba? Unless multi-year obligation siguro yon, di ba? So is this what happened in the case of the OP? Bakit andun tayo sa 570 to 590 level? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask ASEC John?
Good morning, Your Honor. Actually, the capital outlay for the previous years is this one for the 2023, we're still ongoing this project. So technically, sir, may mga projects tayo na tinutuloy lang for 2023. So, for example, the NEB, yung construction ng ating retrofitting ng new executive building, and dun sa Kalayaan Hall, it's more on because of the processes that we have to consider also. And the construction of 4-story parking din po. It was already proposed in the previous years din po.
That is the new one. That is the 4-story parking building is the project to be started or initiated under the 2023 budget.
Yes, sir.
First release yan, if ever, for that project.
Actually, sir, we have this on the 2022, but it's not pushed through with the considering the the process. So now we will continue it for the 2023.
Okay, sige, naintindihan ko na. So,
Okay po.
but more or less, pero siyempre yung mga procurement ng vehicles, plus replacement of machineries, etc. So nagkataon lang na ang bottom line natin ng CO is in the vicinity of the previous year's CO. Ganun po ang nangyayari.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, but sige, if that is driven by the plans, yeah, that is the bottom line. That, you know, coincidence lang na nandun sa level na yan. Then I get the explanation, Mr. President. So siguro tinitingnan ko lang naman tong COA reports. I-address na lang ninyo to, Sir ES, para mabura na po to sa future years. Yung meron din, pero there's an observation about yung God natin, yung gender, ano ba yung gender and development, because there's a formula yata. Because sa laki ng ano, how will you, I do not know how to, so if we need to, so it's either you can convince COA that you're complying, or if it's not applicable, you advise us if we need to amend the law or put a proviso there na pagdating sa ganitong offices na ganito yung budget. Kasi otherwise 50% of your confidential and intelligence funds you should spend on God. And how do you prove that? So siguro that's a COA observation. If we do not change anything, it might keep on appearing. So tingnan, gano'n na lang, advise us if the law needs to be changed, provide that exception. Oh, mga ganon. So,
Your permission, Minority Leader, I think the Senate President Pro Tem wants to make a point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the permission of the Minority Leader, the GAD is a very old law before our time. That's a gender and development. And it's, I believe, just 5% of the budget. I'm sure all government agencies can be compliant and we don't have to amend the law or even make an exemption, because I am certain that even with OP and all other agencies, if there's a COA finding, they can actually see what are the activities that will make it compliant with law. And I'm sure, especially that the PMS is headed by a woman and populated and run by women, they would be happy to have activities to make the OP compliant with the GAD law, because that's a very important law. It mainstreams gender issues. So that was the Shahani law, I think, way back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for sharing that with us. If you just look in front of you, Your Honors, you will see that our gender is outnumbered. And we're,
Sir, if I may
yeah.
interject something.
The eye test, definitely, we're passing the GAD law.
Siguro-
Go ahead, Minority Leader. Yes.
Ganito ba yung reality? Sandali, ganito ba? Yung GAD law requires 5% of the budget to be spent on gender and development PAPs or activities. Lagyan natin. And we look at the bottom line, di ba? So, and that bottom line includes CIF. So sa CIF pa lang, if you look at the CIF, that's already 5% of that is 225 million na kailangan gastusin from that amount, and then you will claim that it is for GAD. I think yun yung siguro yung mga realities on the ground lang na, because of the Confi and intelligence funds na medyo mataas. Yun po yung point. So advice na lang tayo based on experience. What do you, if any, hindi ko kayo pinipilit, based on experience, do you advise your legislators to make some adjustments? Kung hindi, it might keep on appearing and reappearing in audit findings. Kasi Ganun yung pag-interpret po ba? Tama po ba, ma'am? Ganun yung pag-interpret? You look at the bottom line budget of total new appropriations, ba? Then times 0.05, that is the amount to be spent on God. Is that basically the what COA is looking for?
Yes, Your Honor.
So ganun. That's it. Sige.
Perhaps we can ask, Mr. Chair, in previous administrations, in previous years, whether there's always been a COA finding consistent. And when COA cites an agency for non-compliance with the law, we can ask them, what are the PAPs in compliance with this law? Kasi pag pumula ka, magbigay ka ng suhestyon. Ano ba yan? And if it's within the mandate of the OP, then they can easily comply. For example, if it's confidential funds, but these funds that say can help women in marginalized women in vulnerable populations in strife-torn areas. That's already compliant with for livelihood programs in rebel areas, in areas of insurgency, provide livelihood for women. It can even be for solo parents. And dami-daming interventions that will be compliant with GAD. So I don't think the new government administration will have difficulty in complying with this age-old law. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
We'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Senate Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva. Earlier, sir, we manifested because you texted me, so I hope you don't mind. I already manifested your support, but you're free to manifest again if you wish.
Yes, I heard it, Mr.
okay.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And as you already manifested, I'm here to express my full support to our team, our Honorable Executive Secretary, our good friend, and the seatmate in the SET, ES Lucas Bersamin, and of course, Secretary Naida Angpin, Mr. Chairman. I will no longer share with you stories of this representation, how I met her and how I've known her, and I fully trust her, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure she is perfect for the job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Parang,
Thank you.
Because I didn't get the chance to be part of the Commission on Appointments, Senate President Pro Tempore. Thank you.
I will wrap up.
Joel, thank you.
I will wrap up, Mr. Chairman. So,
Go ahead, Minority Leader.
as I wrap up, I just wish all the best the OP and the OP family. I know it's a very difficult time to govern ngayong panahon. Dami nating problema. So, yun lang yung ating budget, yung ating paggagastos, ingatan natin yung pera ng bayan. Ang hirap erase from our people, and then mahirap na rin yatang umutang, at saka wag naman tayo rin mabuhay sa utang kasi hindi rin maganda yun. Dapat pakita natin sa rest of the world that, to maintain our standard of living, the quality of life that we desire, we are also working for it very hard. Nagpapapawis din po tayo. We are breaking our backs for that quality of life that we all desire for our people. So, andito lang po kami. Basta, please understand our role. But we still wish you the best. We wish the success of all administrations because, we are one boat. And we will sink together, or we will successfully reach our destination together as one people. So, salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
Very much for very eloquently put, Minority Leader. I think Vice Chair Senator Bongo just wishes to make a manifestation. I was told. Is he online?
Yes.
Senator Bong.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
salamat po, my distinguished colleagues, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, PMS Secretary Zenaida Angpin, and all the resource persons present today, Esdes Guevara. Let me begin my brief manifestation by congratulating and commending President Ferdinand Marcos for making his first 100 days in office. Amid high expectations from the public, the President and his cabinet strategized plans and policies which aim to give the Filipino people a better and safer Philippines. Following the President's pronouncement in his first State of the Nation address, I am happy that he is giving particular emphasis on strengthening the public healthcare system and ensuring an inclusive economic recovery. I am certain with the leadership of President Marcos, together with the Office of the President, Office of the Executive Secretary, and the Presidential Management Staff, the foundation for recovery of health, livelihood, and peace will be strengthened. Let us build on the successes of the previous administration and continue to make the lives of Filipinos more comfortable and ensure that no one will be left behind in the road towards recovery in support of the current administration's goals. Having been able to work closely with the previous president for the past, 2016 to 2018-19, nakatrabaho ko po yung mga taga-PMS, OES, mga professionals po yan. In fact, maliit na opisina lang po yung akin, yung SAP. Hindi po ako ang head ng PMS noon, oversight lang. At ayaw ko talaga, ayaw kong mag-head rin ng PMS dahil puro magagaling ang mga tao dyan. At gusto kong sila mismo ang magpalakad ng opisina dahil alam kong kaya nila. Matatagal na yung mga empleyado dyan. Panahon pa po ni President Cory Aquino, President Marcos, President Estrada, President Arroyo, President Aquino again. So magagaling, matatalino. So sabi ko, kaya nyo yung trabaho dyan sa PMS. So ako naman, dito lang sa tabi, oversight lang po at tumutulong lang, pinapasa ko lang po sa kanila yung trabaho. Naintindihan ko napakahirap po, minsan 24 hours on call ang mga yan. I understand the burden that you carry there in Malacanang. Alam ko ang hirap ng trabaho. While others only see the President and his cabinet, you and I know the hardship and challenges that your offices go through. The complete staff work, the piles of documents to be reviewed before it reaches the President's desk, the coordination needed to put the house in order, from the most senior staff members down to the unsung heroes who ensure the success of the country's highest office. Saludo po ako sa mga trabahante dyan sa OP, sa OES, lalo na po sa PMS, na nakilala ko rin po noong nakaraang 6 na taon ni Pangulong Duterte. With this, and with a huge task at hand, you have my full support sa OP, sa OES, sa PMS. Just continue to serve the Filipino people. Unahin niyo po yung mga mahirap po. Yun lang po ang pakiusap ko sa inyo. Yung mga walang matakbuhan po. Yung mga hopeless, mga helpless. Unahin po natin silang pagsilbihan. Bilang senador, hangad ko rin po ang tagumpay ng kanyang administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos at handa akong suportahan ang mga legislative agenda na sa tingin ko ay makakabuti sa ating mamamayan. Nasa likod niyo po ang milyon-milyong mga Pilipino, kaya sigurado akong may tutupad niyo po ang mga programa na maghahatid sa ating bansa at ng mamamayang Pilipino ng kaunlaran. Again, I express my full support to the budget of the Office of the President, OES, and its technical assistance arm, Presidential Management Staff. And of course, salamat sa ating chairman, Senator Angara, sa suporta sa Office of the President, OES. And of course, si Senator Loren Ligarda, alam niyo po noon, very supportive rin po siya sa Office of the President. Alam niyo po gaano ka-importante ang opisinang yan. At sa lahat ng mga colleagues ko, salamat po sa inyong suporta. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Salamat ng marami, Vice Chair Senator Bongo. Of course, alam na alam po ni Senator Go yung laman loob po nung trabaho nung Office of the President, having come from there. And thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your support. I'm sure na-appreciate ho yan ng ating mga kasapi sa Office of the President and PMS.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Go. Go ahead, ma'am. Senate President Pro Tem.
While, Mr. Chair, thank you. While Senator Bongo is on the line or online, perhaps you can share with the OP during your time with President Duterte, there was a very important intervention in the budget where the OP was able to help MSMEs, especially those in the north. I think there was a big storm. Were these amendments to the MSME law under the Small Business Corporation? I just want to know, I'm trying to recall, which agency was that? And it was very important, nakatulong ng malaki sa pagbibigay ng kapital at tulong na pinamimigay ng Pangulo sa mga nasasalanta na mga kalamidad. Would the good senator, when he was still working with the Office of the President, know what that was? That was maybe 2015, no, 16 or 17 in the early years of the Duterte administration. Only if you remember, we can find that in the
Hindi ko na
LBR
po-
records. Yes.
Napakarami mong katulungan ni Presidente. So, if he's,
Senator Loren,
yeah, go ahead, sir.
hindi ko na po masyado maalala, pero I'm sure kayo po yung tumulong sa narinig ko po through ES Medialdea yata noon. Kayo po yung tumulong na magkaroon po ng pondo, and I think it was of course through the Department of Trade and Industry kung MSMEs po yung pinag-uusapan natin. Hindi ko na po maalala, siguro that was 5 years ago pa po o 6 years ago, Senator Loren.
Thank you, Vice Chair Go. Maybe we can ask the LBRMO to revive that. In the meantime, next to ask is Senator Padilla. If he has any questions, you have 10 minutes, sir.
Maraming salamat po, mahal na tagapangulo, Senator Sani Angara. Pagpupugay po sa isang chairman ng aming partido, PDP Laban, Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel. Sa atin pong pro tempore, ang maganda at magaling, Senator Loren Ligarda. At siyempre po, sa ating pinunong mayorya, ang aking best friend, Joel Villanueva, Senator Joel Villanueva. Oo.
Maulit yung botohan Iba na po yung boto ninyo.
Malaking yes na.
Bigyan ng jacket yan.
Isang magandang umaga po sa ating pong mga bisita. Isa pong malaking karangalan po sa akin ang makasama po kayo ngayong araw na to. Meron lang po akong maiksi lang po ito. Patungkol po ito suong nakaraan ng 2017 po. Ito po ay para sa ating mahal na kalihim, Executive Secretary. Noong 2017 po, nagkaroon po tayo ng Marawi Siege. At nawasak po talaga ang Marawi. At ito pong 2022, nagkaroon po tayo ng Republic Act 11696, otherwise known as the Marawi Siege Victims Compensation Act. At dito po, nakalagay po dito, napakalinaw po nito, na magkakaroon po ng board, Marawi Compensation Board. At ang sinasabi po dito, ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas po ang magtatalaga kung sino po yung bubuo ng board. Ngayon po nakalagay kasi dito, the President shall appoint the chairperson and the other 8 members of the board. At siyempre po, bilang ang ating pong mahal na kalihim, ay siya po ang masasabi na pinakamalapit sa ating Pangulo para magdesisyon po rito. Gusto lamang po namin itanong kung kailan po ito maisasagawa sapagkat nito pong huling pag-uusap patungkol po sa budget, meron na pong nakalaan na 1 bilyon piso para po maumpisahan yung Marawi Compensation Board. Yun lang po, napakaiksi lang po. Gusto lang po namin malaman, lalong-lalo na po ang mga kapatid po ninyo sa Marawi, kung kailan po masasagawa ng ating mahal na Pangulo yung pagtatalaga ng board para po maumpisahan na po ang pagbibigay ng kompensasyon. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat po, mahal na kalihim.
Thank you. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Senador. Ang pagkakaalam ko po, hindi pa kami nakapagtalaga ng mga taong that will make up the board, no? We might be waiting for applications because we ought to have a good view through these persons who will be serving on the board. Kung meron po kayong gustong irekomenda, open pa po. Asikasuhin namin yan ng mabilis.
Nako, pumapalak po yung tenga ko Teka, awatin ko. Maraming salamat po. Yun lang po ang gusto kong marinig at ako na lang po ay makikipag-koordinasyon po sa inyong opisina. Maraming salamat po, mahal na kalihim. Mabuhay po kayo.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Senator Padilla. I was about to leave and go to another hearing, but I just thought it is a important, at most important, to also raise an issue, Mr. Chairman, that I can share with our Executive Secretary and PMS Secretary. This is the issue of contractualization in government service, because right now we have about 642,077 job orders and contract of service. I have been raising this issue every single year, every budget season for the past 6 years, and in every agencies of the government, I would also do that. After this, when I go to DSWD budget hearing, I will also raise the particular issue in that particular department, because unfortunately, 1 of every 10 positions in the government is still unfilled. 1 of every 10. So right now, there's about 170-something thousand unfilled positions. And imagine, with 170,000 unfilled positions, you have 642,077 contract of service, job orders, etc. When I was in TESDA, I was surprised to find out na yung mga empleyado namin, 10-15 years na, JO pa rin, no? So, in some cases, Mr. Chairman, it's not really the fault of the department, because the item in itself is not suited for the worker. And so we also raised this with the Civil Service Commission. In fact, si Chairman Carlo Nograles already come up with a task force to look into it. At the same time, find out on how they will be able to help this our human resources to make it in that particular position. For example, by giving point system, additional point system, etc. Rico, you're there pala. Good to see you, my friend. So, yun lang gusto kong i-raise, Mr. Chairman, because, for example, this 642,077 comprise 26% of our workforce. Can you imagine? Nasa job order, nasa contract of service, samantalang ang daming unfilled positions, and marami ho dyan. I can also give you yearly yung mga ito para kung hindi man nila fill upan, sarado na lang natin or i-evaluate po natin, at gaya nung sabi ko, minsan hindi naman kasalanan ng ahensya, magawan ho natin ng paraan with the civil service, matulungan nyo din po tayo, because this has been our advocacy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, I commit to support, if not augment, the budget of the OP and the PMS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yung augment daw ang pinaka-importante dun sa sinabi ninyo, sir. No, but before I recognize the Executive Secretary, I just want to say Majority Leader Villanueva has been very consistent since his entry into the Senate in 2016. Every year niya po sinasabi yan. Baka Majority Leader, maganda isama na natin sa right sizing act yan kung sakali, na we give the DBM and the CSC the power to alter or revise the qualifications, because usually ang dahilan na binibigay sa atin, wala kasing position ho yan so if we give them the power to do that, wala na hong dahilan, di ba? Pag meron na silang kapangyarihan na baguhin yung qualifications, Kasi sinasabi nila minsan, yung kahit 10 taon na ho or 20 years doon, wala hong degree. Ganun. Wag na nating asahan na mag-aaral yung isang 60 taon, sir. So, I acknowledge your consistency and the power of your arguments there, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
We're one with
Chairman.
you, sir. We're one
Thank
with
you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad that you mentioned yung right sizing because 2 days ago we had our LEDAC meeting with the SP Pro Temp Lauren Legarda and ES Bersamin and Secretary Angpin. And the President, no less than the President himself, is very much interested in passing this measure. And because of the fact that so many people are watching us right now, again, I will point out right sizing doesn't mean downsizing. So it's making our government entities, institutions more efficient and more effective, and I'm full support of that. And for the record, this representation as a bill pursuing this right-sizing measure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader. ES Bersamin, sir.
Yes, maraming salamat po sa mga binanggit ninyo, tinukoy, tungkol sa contractualization. Makakaasa kayo na bibigyan namin ng tunay na pansin dyan. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for that assurance, Your Honor, Executive Secretary. Now we'll recognize Senate President Pro Temp, the former chair of this committee, who is a cornucopia of knowledge on all sorts of information. Senator Lauren Legarda, ma'am.
Thank you very much,
The
Mr.
legend.
Chair, and I greet once again our chairman and our majority leader. I just wanted to bring to the agenda an important law which Congress enacted, which we authored, we supported in 2019, which is not yet being implemented by the executive, but could be the game changer in the way forward in terms of our sustainable pandemic recovery. And I'm referring, sir, to the Innovation Act. This is an output of the 2015 APEC enacted into law in 2019. And the IRR, I believe, was completed during pandemic. That is the reason why the previous administration is not able to implement it. The Innovation Act is chaired by no less than the President of the Republic, and it designates in Section 6 the Executive Secretary as the alternate or to head the Innovation Council. I know that both NEDA and the DTI, among other agencies, are members of the Innovation Council, but it is led by no less than the President. And in this day where we really need to boost our MSME sector, who will spur economic recovery in the grassroots, the Innovation Act, I believe, Mr. Chair, Mr. Executive Secretary, and my colleagues in government would be the game changer so that we could help our MSMEs. It could also help the education sector, especially that we are faced with challenges in learning poverty, as well as providing more research, R&D, development, and extension to MSME. So I will no longer read the section regarding the membership of the NIC, but I'm just referring to this Innovation Act. May I therefore kindly, respectfully request the commitment of the OP, the Executive Department, who will implement this law in the coming year, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for giving us that reminder, ma'am. We will give you a definite promise today that we will activate this board or panel that is stated in the law. We'll make this priority.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Executive Secretary. The NEDA already has an innovation group, even as Secretary Baliksakan is new, because I believe the previous NEDA had already created such a group. The DTI is a very important member of the council, but as I said, it is led by the president. So it shows how much Congress, the Senate, had given importance to this law by making the President of the Republic the chair of the Innovation Council. So I will leave it at that, but I hopefully expect the executive, the OP, to take the lead in this regard. Second, Mr. President, this is not a new law. This is a 12-year-old law, but the NDREAM, National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Law, has been there, perhaps subject for review. But again, the NDREAM fund is so important. While it is lodged in different government departments, they have their own quick response fund. The Office of the President has the authority, along with the OCD, which is the Secretariat of the NDREAM, to help during times of calamities. And we know in our 12 months, it happens twice a month, at least 20 typhoons a year, aside from other kinds of natural hazards, including earthquakes. So in my experience of decades in this chamber, I always saw the excruciatingly slow processing of funds of the NDREAM to help agencies, but more importantly, to help LGUs. Just to remind the executive, the OP, that these funds are supposed to help during times of calamities, perhaps with the brilliance of the executive secretary having been Chief Justice and the knowledge and experience of PMS head who knows local governance. She would know the importance, and Rico Judge as well, having been head of the Liga ng Barangay. You know how when a disaster strikes, the LGUs would go at walang pondo. It takes not months, years for them to access the NDREAM. So, wala na po, hindi na makaka-recover. So, the funds are there. It would be sayang po ang pondo. Tagalogin ko na po kung hindi po magamit ito. Perhaps an efficient process while abiding with COA rules and regulations could be instituted so that there could be more judicious and efficient utilization of the NDREAM fund. Perhaps ASEC Miklat, recruit from Dole Tupad, can help them how to do this. So I just bring this to the table, Mr. Chair, so that the utilization of funds already there, brought about by laws, can help our LGUs better, so that also we see an OP which can reach out to the grassroots at any time. Just those 2 points, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair. Thank
Madam President, Senate President Pro Temp, and we share in your concern. These are two very important issues. We hope we can get the support of the executive branch on these two issues, sir.
Your response, sir. Thank you.
This is very interesting on our part, and we welcome your pointing all this non-use or unutilization of these funds.
Slow use.
Or slow use, because personally, to me, it's the first time I'm made aware of the existence of these funds. But thank you, ma'am, for adding to my discretion. I will promise you today that we will put to good use, prudent use, all these things that you have pointed out to us.
We have great faith in you, Mr.
Thank
Chief
you,
Justice,
thank you.
Mr. Executive. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Senate President Pro Temp, and for raising those very important issues. We just have a phone-in question from our media, friends in the Senate media. They're asking, Your Honors, if there is an update on the POGO policies from the government, on the government side. Yes, sir. Yung Philippine online gaming. Opo, yeah. Because the Senate at the moment is conducting hearings, and we want to know where the executive stands. If there's no decision, then you can say it's
We
being
have not yet
considered.
decided on that, Mr. Chairman.
Pero
But,
napag-uusapan ho ninyo,
Yes,
Your
yes,
Honor.
pinag-uusapan po, but because your investigations, your proceedings are ongoing, out of respect for your findings, no, we cannot second guess. So maybe we will go in tandem with you once you come up with your findings. But the feeling is they may be, well, we are appreciating the problem as you will appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir, for
Thank you.
sharing that with us and for the respect accorded. Thank you. I don't think there are any other colleagues who have contacted us. Just want to raise yung the effect of Memorandum Circular 3 on the OICs. I think there's a provision there which prevents them from entering into contracts. So that affects their utilization of this year's budget, Your Honor. That was made, we were made aware of this during the budget of the DepEd when we asked the ECCD, the Early Child Care Development Council, as to why they had a low utilization of their budget. And they said they were prevented from entering into contracts to build the daycare centers because of that memorandum circular. So that may be an unwitting effect or unintended effect of the memorandum circular, Your Honor. So maybe we could take a look at that because kawawa din ng executive branch ho pag mababa ho ang utilization. Usually, the effect of that is babawasan ang budget ng agency. Kasi sasabihin, hindi mo nagastos yung budget mo di ba? So, I'm sure that's not the intended effect of that circular, Your Honor.
Thank
Mr.
you
Chair?
very much, Your Honor. May I ask the Deputy Executive Secretary?
Yes, of course, SDS Guevara. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. No? If we look at MC number 3, particularly paragraph 4, no, the President allows agencies to enter into contracts and projects, no, or disburse extraordinary funds in meritorious cases. So pwede naman, sir, na pwede sila mag-enter into contract as long as it's meritorious. Now, to allay any doubt, we are now in talks with the Office of the Chief Presidential Legal Counsel to craft another MC to allow exceptions, no? Dati kasi tatlong agencies lang tatlong industriya lang pwede. Ngayon we will even allow those in the health industries, no, to enter into contracts. Even particularly yung renewal of lease contracts, hindi ko yata nakasama dyan. So those, isasama po rin natin po yan. So we are also in talks with our DESFA and especially also with our DESGA, no, Deputy Executive Secretary for General Administration, to craft this new MC to already allay any confusion, no, in MC number 3. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, SDS, and we hope those talks make progress because, well, to put it bluntly, Your Honors, kayo din ang tatamaan yan. Sa totoo lang, kayo din ang tatamaan yan because your utilization rate of the executive will be low and GDP growth will be lower if you were not able to roll out the priority projects of the government. So that's actually, if there's any beneficiary, it's going to be the executive branch, Your Honors. Yeah. So, yun lang po. Wala na pong magtatanong. And of course, count on our support here in the committee, Mr. Executive Secretary, Secretary Naida. You have a very good team assembled that I see, very dynamic, and we want to support you in every way we can. So please let us know how we can further do that. And again, our regards to the President, our highest esteem. We saw him the other day, of course, and we see how quickly he moves on certain aspects, and we hope that continues for the next 6 years. So thank you very much, Executive Secretary Lucas, your team, all of these brilliant young public servants, Sec Naida. Please let us know how the committee can further assist you and your team, Your Honors. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. We'll favorably recommend your budget
Thank you.
to the plenary without prejudice to any augmentations,
Thank you very
Your Honor.
much.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.